Today I'm going to be looking at the don'ts of Sweden, so the things you shouldn't do when you visit Sweden. Tell me if you agree with this list. Tell me if there's anything that you shouldn't do in Sweden that's not on this list. Yeah, let's watch. Can find out what not to do.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Walter's World, and today we are here in the islands of Stockholm. And I'll tell you why I'm not telling you the name later, because it's Swedish and we always have problems with that. And today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Sweden. And the first don't I have for you is don't ignore the line culture. Look, in Sweden, they love their lines, and even if you don't see the line there, everybody knows who was first, who was second, who was third. So don't try to jump the line, whether it's at the bus or getting on a ferry or doing whatever. They do follow the line, so do be careful with that because they are pretty strict with that one. So that's the first thing, is don't skip the line. Follow who went first and things like that. My second...
I think that's like, if that's to do with queuing, being British, I definitely relate to that. We are very strict when it comes to queuing and being in the line. I live in Asia now. It's the complete opposite. It's just a free-for-all. People go cutting queue all over the place. You can be one person just waiting at a counter to get to buy something in a shop. Someone will just come in front of you, put their things there, and just not care. I don't understand it, but I definitely agree. Never cut queues.
Don't for you is if you're lucky enough to get invited to a Swede's home, which you probably will because the people are really nice here, is don't wear your shoes inside their house. It's like the biggest insult when you go to somebody's home. And when you go in, you're going to see they'll have places to put your shoes all the time. So just take your shoes off, put it there. Sometimes they might have slippers for you, sometimes not. It's okay, but just know you're going to take your shoes off. So if you got stinky socks and feet, make sure you wear clean socks and wash your feet before you go there, okay?
Yeah, this is...
Now, my third...
Yeah, this is definitely something I know of Scandinavian countries, that's the way to do it. Again, that's actually something very similar here in Asia. In Asia, it's an absolute no-no to go into a house without or while wearing shoes. It's unacceptable. I used to do it. I'm from the UK and we'll wear shoes in the house as long as they're not dirty and things like that. We'll just wear it. It's kind of normal. So I used to do that here in Asia. Then my wife, just when I met her, refused to accept it. So now I'll never step in any house, no matter where I am in the world, wearing shoes.
Don't for you is probably more related to the tourists that when we come here is...
Tell me, if you always do that as
when
well.
you come to Sweden, you're going to want to go to the clubs and the bars and things like that because they've got some really fun clubs around the country. But the thing is a lot of times, especially here in Stockholm, you have what's called face control. So my don't for you for this is don't expect to get into a club if you don't dress the part. You do have to dress up when you go out here because there will be people like pointing, okay, you can go in, you can go in, you can go in. Now, this is more of a Stockholm issue, but it does happen in other places around the country. So don't dress like crap when you come here. There's a reason why we all wear H&M stuff. That's a Swedish company because they got some really cool cheap style here. So go hit one of the thousands of stores in the country so you can look good when you go out, and then you can actually get in when you want to go out.
Tell me if you've ever been rejected from a club for not being dressed well enough, and tell me what you think about that. Do you think that's a fair thing? Do you think clubs and bars and things should have certain standards, or do you think people should just be allowed to wear anything to a certain extent? Obviously you can't just go and wear any shorts and t-shirts, I would imagine, but do you think people should be allowed to be a bit more casual and things?
Now, my fourth don't for you is don't worry too much about your safety when you come to Sweden. Yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff in the news about things going on here, but the thing is Sweden is very safe. And just like anywhere you go, if you go to the parts you're supposed to go to and don't go to the parts you're not supposed to go to, you're going to be okay. And that's one of the things is we have our kids here and we let them kind of run around and have a good time because Sweden is really safe. So don't worry about your safety too much. But just like anywhere, you want to pay attention. I mean, there's even pickpocket signs in the airport when you're going through the passport check, okay? So just a heads up on that, but you don't have to worry too much about the safety. Another don't I have for you.
Do you agree with that being Swedish? I know that sometimes when foreigners go to another country, they can say it's very safe, but the local people might have a different opinion. Do you agree that Sweden is a very safe place? Is there any places in Sweden that are not safe or like that have a stereotype of being less safe than any other place?
Don't forget to bring a credit card with a PIN number, okay? Because they don't always take cash here, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but just one thing you should know. Also, kind of a don't with that one is don't bring euros. They use the Swedish crown here, so you're going to use the Swedish krona when you do pay, but you will most likely use credit card instead of cash. So don't take out a bunch of money from the ATM when you come here, because you're going to be using your credit card most of the time. And I mention that because our next don't is don't expect a cheap vacation in Sweden. Unless you're coming from Norway. If you're coming from Norway, this place is cheap. But if you're coming from anywhere else, look, Sweden is not a cheap place to go. Drinking, eating, hotels, things like that throughout the country, it is really pricey. So make sure you prepare your pocketbook for when you come here. And that's why when I tell a lot of people, it's like, look, you can do the Scandinavian tour and things like that, but also throw in the Baltics. Go over to Tallinn and Riga and Lithuania and stuff like that, and you can like kind of balance out the money you're going to spend, because this is not a cheap place to come. Now, a seventh don't for you is don't expect the Swedish food to wow you. Look, new Scandinavian cuisine is actually really good. The new stuff after this, it got influence and fusion from all over. But the traditional Swedish foods, you know, like the herring and the 19 versions of herring and things like that. And there's other things out there. Probably not. Good. There's probably a reason why you don't see so many Swedish restaurants around the world. Now, the new Scandinavian, the restaurants they have here has actually good food. But traditional Swedish food is probably not what you're going to be looking for to enjoy a lot. There are some good stuff, like their cinnamon rolls. Oh my God, they're fantastic. But just know, when you're going to be going out to eat here, go try new Scandinavian cuisine or other things here. So you have a lot of different international flavors. You'll have that. That's good. But the traditional local stuff is, well, like I said, check how many Swedish restaurants are in your hometown.
Yeah, tell me if you agree with that. What do you think about that? Do you think Swedish food is as bad as he's making out? What's your favourite Swedish food? What's the best? I don't know. I can imagine, like, looking at the photographs and videos there, it looks quite nice. It looks very hearty food. Tell me what you think about Swedish food.
Now, my eighth don't for you is don't worry if you don't understand anything in Swedish. You'll see words and go, like this over here says Fjäderhommarniskrog. I have no idea what the hell that says. And you'll have that a lot of times in Swedish, like, dude, I have no idea. But it's okay. Throughout Sweden, people speak English, German. You have all kinds of languages people speak here, because the Swedes are really good, and they have really, really good accents. I mean, it's one of the places where you go, they speak the language, and you're like, are you a tourist as well? Oh, no, I'm Swedish. I had English in school. Their English is fantastic, so don't worry about that. But I will say a little extra don't on there is don't do your Swedish, your Swedish chef impression, because a lot of people go, oh, yeah, Swedish. You're flirty, blurty, flirty, blurty. Look, the Swedes won't get that upset. They might laugh at you, but it's more like the kind of thing. So maybe don't do the Swedish chef when you are here. Now, my ninth don't for you is don't worry about the Swedish silence. Look, when you're on, like, you're taking the subway here in Stockholm, or you're taking buses throughout the country, you're taking the trains, you'll notice it's very quiet. Like, you hear the birds here going. The Swedes are very reserved and quiet, except when they're drinking. Then they just start singing all kinds of crazy songs. But in general, it's really kind of quiet. And if you're talking and you're hanging out with Swedes and there's not a lot of people talking, don't be upset by it. That's a normal kind of thing, okay? So don't worry about the Swedish silence, all right? I guess another little...
Is that fair? Do you think the Swedish personality is more reserved than many other countries or many people from other countries? And how does it compare to people from Norway, Finland, Denmark? From what I've learned, that people in Finland and Norway actually have maybe similar personalities. Are Swedish people similar to those countries as well?
If one of your Swedish friends says, oh, we're going to have a special dish from Sweden, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to have surströmming. Look, that is fermented Baltic herring, possibly the most stinkiest thing you can actually eat, and oh my God. So don't get tricked by your Swedish friends, because they do like to do that sometimes. And if you do have that, don't eat it in your house. Eat it outside and let the neighbors know, because it is insanely disgustingly smelling. But actually, it doesn't taste that bad. But the smell is, well, it's just not good.
Is that true?
Now, my 11th don't for you is don't gawk. Okay, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. The people in Sweden are really good looking. The guys and the girls are gorgeous. You look around going, my God, they look so good. My God, they're so good looking. And they dress really well. And you're saying, wait, wouldn't they all get in the clubs because they want to? Look, just don't gawk too much when you are here, because they are quite good looking when you are here. A couple other little things you might want to realize is, don't think the Swedish fish candy we have in the US and other places, they don't have Swedish fish here. You're not going to buy Swedish fish in a bag. What you're going to do is you're going to go to a candy store. In the candy store, you'll get a scooper, and then you scoop up things that look like the Swedish fish to put in a bag,
never
and
seen
you do
that
it that
before.
way. So don't go in looking for the bags of it, like pre-packaged. You're going to go to a candy store, dig it out, and put it into a bag for you. Also, don't call IKEA, or sorry, don't call IKEA IKEA, okay? IKEA in the US is from here, and it's nowhere near as popular here as it is in the US. Like in the US, you say, oh, I went to IKEA, and everyone's like, oh, you got that IKEA? Oh my God. And here it's like, oh yeah, I went to IKEA and I got it. It's like another place to go shopping, all right? So don't be thinking it's a magnificent, a wonderful thing as we find in the US, as they might not find it the same way here. Oh, and I guess I have one other don't I have for you for Sweden. If you're gonna be sailing in the islands and stuff like that, don't go on a boat that's called Broken, because yes, it was quite prophetic that it broke down while we were going through the archipelagos. So it was a little bit scary, but it worked out okay. We got towed and had some fun and melted through some things, but it was good. But just don't take a boat called Broken, just FYI. Anyway, I hope this helps you enjoy more of Sweden. It is a really cool place. I highly recommend it. We have all kinds of videos on visiting Sweden.
Yeah, that seemed like a quite interesting list. Tell me again, like as I mentioned, if you agree with all of those things not to do in Sweden. I guess some of them could be could be argued, but tell me if there's anything else you think that people shouldn't do when they go to Sweden. Tell me what you think they should do when they go to Sweden, actually. What would you recommend people do when they go to Sweden? Tell me in the comments. Thanks.